Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. In previous module, we have learnt about the application of bioremediation to control or to manage the organic pollutants. In this module, we will study about the application of bioremediation technique for the pesticide pollution management. So this module is on biodegradation of pesticide. We know pesticides are the compounds which are used to control the pest. Pesticides are in use you can say since 1950s. Particularly these organic pesticides, these are in use since 1950s, and we know the harmful effects of pesticides. The learning objectives of this module are to understand the nature of pesticides and their implication on health, to understand bioremediation, to gain knowledge on different bioremediation strategies for the removal of pesticides, and to understand various factors which influence the bioremediation of pesticides. Pesticides are the chemical compounds that are widely used in the agricultural sector for controlling pests that infest crops. In addition to this, pesticides are also used in health sector as well as for the protection of stored grains. About the pesticides we will be discussing in detail in some other modules. Pesticide usage overall has reached about 2 million tons in the world. In India also, the use of pesticide, particularly in agriculture, occur at the rate of 0.5 kilogram per hectare, which makes India among the largest producer and consumers of pesticides. About 2 to 3% of these pesticides are used, and remaining pesticides remain in different environmental matrices including soil, water, air, etc. In India, endosulfan, chlorpyrifos, atrazine, carbaryl, cypermethrin and carbofuran are some of the commonly used pesticides. You might be knowing that cotton crop is one such crop in India in which about 55% of the total pesticides which are used are consumed in this single crop. In addition to this, a number of herbicides are used to control the weeds, particularly in wheat crop and in the rice crop. WHO has classified pesticide based on their hazards which they may cause, like extremely hazards, they are called as class 1A pesticides, highly hazards called as class 1B pesticides, moderately hazards called class 2 pesticides, and slightly hazards called as class 3 pesticides. Okay, in this figure we have shown the classification of pesticide. Pesticide can be classified on the number of bases. They can be classified on the basis of target organism, on the basis of their chemical nature, on the basis of their route of administration, and on the basis of their mechanism of action. On the basis of organism, they are classified as insecticides, rodenticides, acaricides, avicides, nematicides, fungicides, bactericides and herbicides. On the basis of the target organism, they are classified as insecticides, rodenticides, acaricides, avicides, nematicides, fungicides, bactericides and herbicides. Insecticide, as the name indicating, are used to control the insects. The best examples are from the environmental point of view DDT, BHC, etc. Rodenticides, which are used to control the rodents like rats. Acaricides, which are used to control the mites. Avicides, the pesticides which are used to control the birds. Nematicides are the pesticides which are used to control the nematodes. Fungicides, which are used to control the fungus. Bactericide, which are used to control the bacteria, and herbicides which are used to control weeds. Similarly, depending upon the target organism, more classifications can be given. Then based upon the route of administration, pesticides are classified as contact poison, stomach poison, fumigants and systemic poison. Based upon the chemical nature, these are classified as inorganic and organic, and under organic these are further classified as organochlorines, organophosphates, carbamates, phenoxy acids, etc. And based upon the mechanism of action, these are classified as physical poison, protoplasmic poison, respiratory poison, nerve poison, chitin poison, etc. But the most common classification is either on the basis of the target organism or on the basis of their chemical nature. Yes. Now, once the pesticide is used, it can enter in any component of the environment, and same is shown here in this figure. The pesticide which is once used, that may go to atmosphere, that may be absorbed by the soil, that may be leached down in the water, and yes, there may be photodegradation of pesticide, as well as there may be microbial degradation of the pesticide that we have used. Yes. Now, pesticides are known to have very serious effects not only on human health but also on the another forms of lives, including animals. Among animals, these farm animals as well as wild animals, birds, plants, etc. Let me give one example. For example, 2,4-D is one pesticide that is used to control the broadleaf weeds. But if somehow even a small quantity of this pesticide goes to any crop, say that is broadleaf crop, say cotton or tomato, that whole crop may be destroyed. So if we come to the health implications of the pesticides, that includes hypersensitivity, immunological reactions like eczema, dermatitis, respiratory diseases and other infectious diseases, neuropathy, toxicity to liver, kidneys, reproductive organs, Parkinson's disease and Alzheimer's disease may also be caused by the pesticides. Pesticides can also cause mutations in genetic material in humans, which may lead to carcinomas. Yes, now let me come to the application of bioremediation technology to manage the pesticide or to control the, you can say, to clean the pesticide polluted sites. So basically bioremediation involves the breakdown of pesticides forming water, carbon dioxide and oxides of other minerals. Metabolism of pesticides into organic compounds is called as biomineralization also. The method of remediation should be ideally safe, and the intermediates which are produced after the breakdown of pesticide, they should be lesser toxic or non-toxic. They should not have any kind of health effects. Now if we come to the application of bioremediation, as we have studied earlier about in situ and ex situ bioremediation. So here for the bioremediation of pesticide, we can apply in situ bioremediation as well as ex situ bioremediation. In situ bioremediation, we can use bioaugmentation, biostimulation and bioventing approaches, whereas in ex situ bioremediation, we can use composting, biofilters, bioreactors, land farming and biopiling methods to remediate the pesticide contaminated sites. So we will be discussing these technologies one by one. In situ bioremediation, treatment of pesticide take place at the contaminated site itself without any kind of excavation. So thus by in situ bioremediation, we reduce excavation as well as we no need to transport the contaminated soil from one place to the other place. This in situ bioremediation is certainly lesser expensive as it doesn't involve the cost of excavation and transport. And this in situ bioremediation can be conducted through several mediums such as fungi, bacteria, etc. While white rot fungi contains lignin, which is a recalcitrant compound, and this fungus contains enzymes known to degrade lignin and other toxic compounds. So this enzyme, which because of the presence of this enzyme, this white rot fungi can be used for the degradation of pesticide or for the cleaning of pesticide contaminated sites. Yes, bioventing, we know that this technique involves the injection as well as even distribution of oxygen and nutrients such as nitrogen and phosphorus in the soil for bioremediation purpose. Bioventing works well for properly drained medium as well as coarse textured soil. A basic bioventing system employs the use of a well and a blower that pumps air into the soil passing via well. Here I have shown the figure that shows the process of bioventing. From this figure you can understand that how the bioventing process take place. Then biosparging. This technique involves the injection of air under pressure below the water level so that concentrations of oxygen in the water table increase, which subsequently improve the degradation potential of naturally occurring bacteria. This enhances the mixing in the saturated zone and thus increases the contact between groundwater and soil. Here in this figure you will find that how the biosparging process take place. I will suggest the student to see this figure and try to understand the concept of biosparging. Then bioaugmentation. Importing microorganism to a polluted site to increase rate of decomposition is called as bioaugmentation. This technique is generally combined with biostimulation, which involves sufficient quantity of water, oxygen and nutrients that are instilled in the sites with the pollution, so that the activity of microbial degrading population is increased through the accumulation of nutrients, amendments and other limiting factors. Now let me come to the ex situ bioremediation. So in ex situ bioremediation, land farming can be used for the purpose of cleaning of sites contaminated with pesticides. In this process, soil is excavated and separated by sieving. The contaminants present in the soil are degraded and immobilized by placing the polluted site in layers over clean soil. The contaminated soil layer is then covered with the clay membrane, and the next step involves the addition of oxygen by ploughing or milling. The pH of the soil is maintained using crushed limestone. The mixing of contaminated soil with clean soil allows for microorganisms to interact with pollutants and degrade them. Land farming is the most widely used bioremediation technique for the purpose of cleaning the contaminated sites from pesticides. Then biopiling. This is also an example of ex situ bioremediation. The biopile system consists of a bed of contaminated soil for treatment, that is modes of contaminated soil, an aerated system, an irrigation and nutrient system, and a leachate collection system. So these are the 3-4 parts of the biopiling. I am again repeating. One is the mound of contaminated soil, then an aeration system, then an irrigation and nutrient system, and a leachate collection system. Moisture, nutrient, heat, oxygen and pH are the factors that are controlled to increase the biodegradation of pesticide. The nutrient system is buried under the soil to pass air and nutrients either by vacuum or positive pressure. Treatment time in biopiling process is normally 3 to 6 months. The biopile can be made into anaerobic environment using covered plastic sheets, so that the aerobic organism utilize the oxygen in the soil. In oxygenless environment, the anaerobic microbes will proliferate, which have capability to degrade organic pollutants like pesticides. In this process, microorganisms degrade organic waste at temperature usually in the range of 55 to 65 degrees Celsius, which increases the solubility of contaminants. Then composting process can also be employed for the cleaning of pesticide contaminated sites. The contaminated soils are first excavated as well as screened to remove large rocks and debris present in that soil. The soil is then taken to a composting pad and provided with protection from weather extremes. Manure, agricultural waste as well as wood chips are used as a supplement carbon source for the proper growth and reproduction of microorganisms. Soil and amendments are laid into long piles known as windrows. After the completion of the entire composting period, the windrows are disassembled and the compost is taken to the final disposal area after disassembling the windrows. Then precipitation approach can also be used for the cleaning of pesticide contaminated site. In the precipitation method, this method is being highly considered for remediating groundwater containing heavy metals as well as their radioactive isotope. This method involves converting a soluble heavy metal salt to insoluble salt that precipitate. The precipitate is then removed from the treated water by physical methods such as clarification and or filtration. Although this method is largely used for the removal of heavy metal and radionuclides by converting them into some insoluble form, but same approach can be used for the removal of pesticides, particularly from the contaminated water. Then microbial degradation of pesticides. Bacterial species that degrade the pesticide normally belong to the genera Flavobacterium, Arthobacter, Azotobacter, Burkholderia and Pseudomonas. Pesticide biodegradation involves oxidation of chemical compounds and formation of carbon dioxide and water with the release of energy, and some other byproducts are also produced in this process of biodegradation. The added microorganism can be either occurring naturally or genetically engineered. The addition of microorganisms to contaminated environments may not be successful to a great extent, as they may not be able to survive in the new environment period for a long time. The genetic modifications can be done by introducing genes directly in the environment, and a natural uptake and transformation help the survival of microorganisms or genes via conjugation in microorganisms. Degradation of pesticides by microbes also depends on environmental conditions, as we have discussed earlier also in case of degradation of organic contaminants, and these conditions involve again pH, temperature, moisture content, nutrients, etc. Bacterial degradation is also controlled by the presence of anionic species like chlorides, sulfate, etc., because these are attached to the hydrocarbon rings. Biosurfactant can also be helpful. They can also aid in improving the bioavailability, which increase the uptake of pesticides in the cells. Now, pesticide can be bioremediated using fungus also. Bioremediation based on fungus is called as mycoremediation. Fungi are responsible for certain minor structural changes in the pesticide to degrade them into non-toxic compounds and liberate them into soil, where it can be degraded further by the natural processes which are going on in the soil. Many fungi like Urticularia, auricular, Agrocybe, then Dicomitis, Flammulina, Avatha, Sterium, Pleurotus, Hypholoma, etc. These are some of the examples. You can find many more examples of the fungi in the literature. White rot fungus from the family Phanerochaete are recognized for efficient degradation of toxic chemicals like organochlorin. Yes, white rot fungus is well established for the degradation of pesticide, particularly organochlorines. They can also be used for inoculation during the composting process. Yes, if these fungus are inoculated during the composting process, then the efficiency of the process can be increased. Some of the fungi produce extracellular enzyme that have properties to degrade organic compounds in presence of hydrogen peroxide. Hydrogen peroxide is produced by these fungi and making them useful for organic decontamination. Fungi have been found to degrade chlordane, lindane, DDT, etc. These all are organochlorine pesticides. We can use enzymes also for the degradation of pesticides. Enzymes can degrade pesticide through intrinsic detoxification mechanisms, metabolic resistance, and via biodegradation by soil and water microorganisms. Fungal enzymes like lacases, oxidoreductases or peroxidases have significant application in the removal of pesticide contamination in fresh marine water or terrestrial waters. Internally or externally produced enzyme from the cells of microorganism can be used. Oxygenation is a key step in pesticide degradation, which can be catalyzed by oxidative enzyme, that is cytochrome P450 enzyme like peroxidase, polyphenol oxidase, tyrosinase, lacase, etc. also catalyze oxidative reactions. Hydrolytic enzymes like esterases, lipases, proteases also help in cleavaging bonds and adding H and OH group to the molecule. They are more effective in compounds like amide, ester and carbamate functional groups. Pseudomonas species has been characterized with different types of esterases, each present in different organelle and with different protein structure. Nitroaromatic pesticides can be metabolized by nitroreductase enzymes, which are commonly found in aerobic and anaerobic metabolizing bacteria. Organophosphates are degraded by bacteria like E. coli, which makes these pesticides degradable due to enzymes like CP liases. Then phytoremediation approach can also be used for the degradation, for the cleaning of pesticide contaminated site. You know that use of plants for the removal of pollution is called as phytoremediation. This method is gaining recognition because of its inexpensive and aesthetic approach. Some compounds like polyamines enable plants to sustain with pollutant concentration which are very high and allow for increased uptake of pollutants. Phytoremediation is a simple technique of solving environmental pollution problem in comparison to microbial bioremediation. Some example of the plants which are genetically altered to increase the uptake and metabolism include tomato, tobacco, soybean, where in enzymes like cytochrome P450 and glyphosate oxidase are expressed. Herbicides are meant for controlling the weeds, hence such pesticides are difficult to be detoxified using the phytoremediation. Phytoremediation may involve phytodegradation, which metabolism of organic pollutant using plants, and phytovolatilization, which is evaporation of organic pollutants as they pass through the leaves of plants. Contaminants can be get immobilized in the plant structures in process called as phytostabilization. Phytostimulation, the plants are not directly involved in bioremediation, however, they act as medium for promoting the microbial growth, which in turn act as bioremediation agent. But phytoremediation is having its own limitations. Major limitation of phytoremediation is that plants grow only in top 3 feet of soil, But if the pollution or if the pollutant is present in the deeper layer, means more than 3 feet, then it is really not possible to use phytoremediation approach. If the contaminants are not metabolized by plants, then they get accumulated in different parts of the plant. This accumulation may cause toxicity to herbivorous animal those feed on these plants. So these are some of the limitations, and we have to take care of these points while applying the phytoremediation for the cleaning of pesticide contaminated sites. Then pesticide conjugation, this is another approach that can be used for the cleaning of pesticide contaminated sites. Pesticide conjugation is a process in which externally added or internally present compounds are linked to pesticide or their degradation products, which in turn help in their detoxification. Enzymatic systems are used in this process. For example, uridine diphosphate glycosyl transferase is involved in pesticide glucose linkage and pesticides glucose esters. Typical reactions involved in pesticide conjugation reactions include xylosylation, acylation, alkylation, nitrosation, etc. Methylation is a common reaction utilized by bacteria and fungi for the detoxification of pesticides. Example of such a reaction is degradation of a herbicide metbromurone by microbe to 4-bromoaniline, which is then acylated to form 4-bromoacetanilite. Pesticides are often found to be linked with cell walls of the plants. Bioremediation is having its own limitations, particularly with regard to the cleaning of pesticide contaminated sites, because the type of organism, their nature and capabilities to metabolize pesticides, optimization of environmental conditions we have to do, then fertilizer and or aeration are required for proper nutrition of the microbes, otherwise microorganism may die and whole process may be spoiled. The cost involved in bioremediation process is huge, means this is costly process, and benefits which we obtain are comparatively less. Damage done by the bioremediation process to the environment in terms of altering environmental conditions, introduction of non-native species of microorganism have not been quantified in both ex situ and in situ methods. So we have to work, a scientist should work on these aspects also, that what kind of damage is done if the non-native species are introduced in a new environment. So to summarize this module, in this module we have learned that what are the pesticides, about their classification, their nature and their toxicity. We have learned about different bioremediation strategies that can be used for the cleaning of pesticide contaminated sites. In addition to this, we have also learned about the limitation of the bioremediation process in case of cleaning the pesticide contaminated sites. Thank you.